If you are ready to high round on the upcoming Black Ops 6 zombies, I have for you guys a video today that I think it's going to be super crucial for knowing for the launch of BO6. As most of you guys probably have heard, augments are going to be the new big mechanics for zombies. This is going to be a game changer as it's very similar to what we had back on Cold War Zombies with the tier systems, except with augments, you are limited to your choices. Alright, so here I have a spreadsheet that I've made for you guys on what I think would be the best possible augment setups for high rounding for Black Ops 6 zombies. Now again, this is just based on my own opinion, so it can be very subjective depending on who is giving their opinions on. But let's dive down deep in and I'll explain to you guys my reasons on why I've chosen each specifically. So to begin, we have all the 8 perks, I believe, and then anything that I've highlighted as yellow will be the one that I think will be the best out of the 3. And then anything that I've highlighted as blue is a maybe, just because we don't have the game launched just yet, so we have to do a little bit more of a testing. But anyways, let's begin. So Juggernaut, left column is going to be the minor augment, right, it's going to be the major. Let's read over each, alright? So first one is retaliation. And excuse me if I do pronounce certain words wrong, because English isn't my first language here. But deal bonus damage while health is low, okay? And then we have hardened plates as the next one. Armor plates have more damage mitigation. Okay, that also would probably mean that you're taking less armor whenever you get damaged. Durable plates here slightly increase armor durability. Okay, so when I was trying to choose between these 3, I instantly would assume that retaliation probably wouldn't be super crucial. Assuming that this game is going to have a health cap, I don't really think you're going to need retaliation, because if your health is low, you're most likely going to have to pop like an ether shroud or something, or might have to throw a grenade or something like a monkey bomb. So I don't really feel like dealing bonus damage while your health is already low or your red screen is going to be that important. So it would have to be between these 2, but these 2 were kind of vague for me, because if you're having armor plates with more damage mitigation, that also would mean your armor isn't going to break as easily, right? And then durable plates is also saying that slightly increased armor durability. So to me, these 2 both kind of sound the same, but the only reason why I've chosen hardened plates was because the keyword here, slightly increased armor build durability. So slightly, like by how much? Like by like 1 hit? Like, to me, is like, this probably just sounds a little bit more better, and it might be more useful because you're taking less armor damage per hit. Now, on top of that, we're gonna go over to major augments, because sometimes you have to consider what you're getting in major augment to see if you can like fuse it together as a combo here, right? So first one here, we have probiotic, slightly increase maximum health with Juggernaut. Okay, so here's another keyword, slightly. Okay, so would that mean like by 1 extra hit, most likely? You know, it would be kind of odd if it's going to increase your jug health by like 3 hits. I just don't really think that's going to happen. Like, it might be at most 2 hits, but I'm going to assume slightly would mean 1 to 1.5 hit. And then we have Turtle Shell here. Armor acts as a shield on your back, completely absorbing damage to your back. No damage mitigation when hit from the front. Okay, so this kind of seems like you're basically having a shield from, for example, Black Ops 3, where you can have a shield on your back, so it's completely absorbing damage, right? You're not going to get any damage hit, and then, however, if you do get hit in the front, you are going to get damage, okay? Reactive armor, when an armor plate breaks, nearby normal enemies are stunned for a short time. Okay, yeah, so I've chosen Turtle Shell out of these 3, and it just seems to me this just going to be a lot more useful for high rounding, especially because we're not going to have Ring of Fire in this game. So most likely you're going to be training a lot more often. So the fact that if you get stuck, if you do get stuck, you can turn your back around and you're not going to get any damage except the front. I think this is going to be really clutchy, which is at the same time why on the right side, guys, I basically highlighted red with an X. At the top it says main. So main would be basically mean that you need to get this. Like, I think that this is going to be like basically like the meta for high rounding. Like, Turtle Shell just seems like quite a huge clutch. Again, reactive armor is like, you know, when armor breaks, nearby enemies are stunned. Like, it doesn't seem too bad. It kind of reminds me of that perk from Black Ops 4 where your shield breaks and it knocks off the zombies. But in this case, you're only stunning them. you're not actually dealing damage, you're not killing the zombie. So I don't really feel like this is really going to be useful, because if you get stuck, you're still going to be stuck because the zombies are only stunned, right? They're not giving you like an escape route. So that's why to me it's like I don't feel like reactive armor is going to be useful, and I don't feel like probiotic, I can't pronounce this word, probiotic is going to be that useful. So in this case, I'm going to have to give it to Turtle Shell, as it just seems to be the more obvious choice here. Moving on here, we have Stam. So we have hard target, while tactical sprinting, projectile damage is reduced. Okay, so the reason why I gave this a blue is because I'm not exactly too sure what projectile damage means. Like, I'm assuming this is what it means is that there's going to be certain part around the map that is going to give you damage. Like for instance, you're going to be running through a fog, like a poison fog, or if you're going down the water, you're gonna be taking environmental damage, right? So this is what I'm not too sure about, because if that is going to be the case, depending on the map, if there's a lot of areas where you're taking environmental damage, then I would say hard target would be extremely useful out of these three. But for now, I kept it as a blue because I'm not too sure until once we play the actual map, right? So next over here, we have quarterback. Use equipment while sprinting. Okay, yeah, so like this is just not going to be really useful at all in my opinion. And then next we have hot foot. So gain a speed boost after your equipment kills an enemy. Okay, so currently I've chosen this as the main one, just because again, you know, I'm not too sure about this just yet. But again, if we are going to be taking environmental damage, definitely I think hard target is going to be the chosen one. This, you know, it's nice to gain a speed boost after you kill an enemy with an equipment, but it's not really going to benefit you that much unless you'll be doing like Easter egg speedrunning. But aside from that, it's a maybe between these two at the moment. So we'll see. Then we have major augments here. We have free faller, become immune to fall damage, which is, you know, pretty nice. Dasher, increase tactical sprint duration, and then lastly we have stalker, walk faster while aiming. Okay, so I've chosen Dasher. As you guys know, like Stam is like one of the most important perks. Like even back since Black Ops 1, you know, Black Ops 2, Stam is pretty crucial, or even Black Ops 3, as well as Cold War. So that's why, you know, being able to sprint longer definitely gonna be important. This one is like, you know, it's not really going to be that useful in my opinion, because what are the odds of you like constantly falling off a map or something, right? Like the only time I've ever recalled using this, even on Cold War, was like when I played in Mauer, and that was when I take the one, you know, when I take the zip line up to the Wonder Phase and I drop down. Like that was really the only time I remember ever caring about taking fall damage, or, you know, or if I was playing Outbreak. But that was really it. The other maps just didn't seem to be that essential. And then here, walk faster while aiming. Yeah, like this, you know, we're not playing multiplayer here, right? So this is just, I feel like this should be like a minor in my opinion. Like this is definitely not a major augment. So yeah, we're gonna have to give it to Dasher here for increased tactical sprint, which is pretty obvious here. Next we have Speed Cola. So Speedy Roll Loud, interesting name here. Mystery Box settles much faster. Yeah, like this is, you know, pretty cool. But again, it's not really gonna help for high rounding. So quick swap weapon faster, and then lastly, fast pitcher, deploy equipment faster. Okay, so I've chosen deploy equipment faster just because in case, you know, if you have to throw a Casimir or a Monkey Bomb, because as you guys know, Monkey Bomb takes a long time to throw out, especially on Cold War. So being able to deploy it faster, or even Casimirs, it could maybe save your life. And again, this, you know, the mystery box sell much faster. You know, it's decent too, but I feel like in terms of high rounding, I feel like fast pitcher is going to be a bit of a life savior for you here. And then next major, we have supercharged field upgrade, recharge is a bit faster. And then classic formula, reload speed is even faster. Okay. Phantom reload, weapon magazines are soldier refill over time. Okay, this one's a little bit more trickier. But for me, I had to give it to supercharge just because being able to charge up your field upgrade a little bit faster is actually really important. Because let's be honest here, like field upgrades is going to be like a main thing as well for Black Ops 6 Zombies high round. And I think being able to get back like your Ether Shroud, it's going to be a life savior. Now, reloading speed even faster, it's just like how much faster is it, right? Like it just doesn't seem to make that big of a difference. If I'm already buying speed cola to reload faster and I gotta equip this to reload even more faster, I don't know, to me it just doesn't seem that important, because if you're training zombies, you're killing a horde. After you kill the horde, you're going to have time to reload anyways, right? So that's why I didn't really think this is going to be that good. And again, this one, it's like slowly refilled over time. You know, it's decent, but again, supercharged, I think is just a better choice here. Death Shot, nice, everyone's favorite perk. So Death Break, increased damage to armor pieces. So I believe some zombies are going to be armored, so this is basically like F and J or armor piercing damage. Dead Draw, reduced hip fire spread. Okay, so I guess it's steady aim kind of. Dead Set, reduce gun movement while performing advanced movement. Okay, so I'm assuming this is talking about Omni movement. So Omni movement is where you can like kind of just like dive and be able to like move around your gun at the same time, which I don't think it's going to be beneficial at all for zombies high round. So I gave it to Death Break just because it's going to increase damage to zombies with armor, so that's definitely going to be important here. Especially there's going to be manglers, and you know, manglers are super annoying, so yeah, this is probably definitely the way to go. So for major augments here, we have Deadhead, further increase in critical damage. Okay, Death First, deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health. And then Dead Again, critical hits have a chance of adding a bullet to your magazine. Okay. For me, I personally chose Dead First because, you know, critical damage is not something that will guarantee to happen on every zombies, right? It's kind of based on whether you can aim for the head or kind of based on RNG. So if the fact that you can deal double the critical damage whenever an enemy's health is at full, which majority of zombies are going to be at full health, right? And most of the time when you're dealing a critical damage, the zombie is going to be at full health. So being able to deal double the amount of damage, I think this is going to be super important for Deadshot at least, because this one here, further increase in critical damage. That basically just means like it's going to be dealing more damage if you get a critical kill. But then again, this just sounds a lot better, right? Like dealing double if an enemy's at full health. So that's why I chosen Dead First. And then here, Dead Again, criticals have a chance of adding a bullet to your magazine. Again, like adding a bullet is not going to do anything, right? Like this, to me, is not that important again, so that's why I had to give it a Dead First here. So moving on here, we have Quick Revive, and for minor, first one, Swift Recovery. Reviving an ally increases both of your movement speed for a short time. Okay, so this is, you know, most likely going to be more useful if you're playing a co-op game rather than a solo. Karmic Return, reviving an ally heals you to full health. And again, this is just going to be more useful for a co-op game, which makes the choice pretty easy as to a solo high rounding game. Slow Death, increase your time in last stand. Okay, yeah, so honestly, even this is not really that useful because one of the major augments for Quick Revive is that killing an enemy while down will revive you and remove Quick Revive, and this can only be done up to 3 times. So if you're willing to choose equivalent exchange, then I would say Slow Death would be beneficial, because if you can kill a zombie, you know, you're gonna get revived. And you know, but in my situation here, I am not choosing equivalent exchange. So to me, having Slow Death isn't going to be super beneficial. It could definitely still help because you can still crawl away perhaps when you're down, and then use the self-res to get up. So because Swift Recovery and Karmic are not going to do anything if you're playing a solo game, right? So but yeah, for here, you know, we have EMT, reviving an ally allows them to keep all of the perks on their bleed out bar. Okay, that sounds pretty OP to be honest, but this is just going to be more useful for a co-op game, right? So right here, guys, this is probably the best augments on Black Ops 6 Zombies. Dying Wish, guys. Like, Dying Wish was a perk introduced from Black Ops 4 Zombies, and it was one of the best perks ever introduced. So what it does is basically on the lethal damage, become immune to all damage for 2 seconds and keep 1 health. Quick Revive is removed on use. Okay, so this basically means like lethal damage. Okay, so how Dying Wish worked in Black Ops 4 was that basically if you're dead, like if you've taken a good amount of damage where you were going to die, it lets you live. for keeping yourself at 1 health, and it's gonna keep you immune for like a couple seconds, right? Here it also says quick revive is removed and used, right? But it doesn't say this can only be used up to 3 times, right? Whereas over here, equivalent exchange, keyword here, guys, this can be done up to 3 times, which means that I'm assuming after you've revived yourself with quick revive by killing a zombie 3 times, you're not gonna be able to use it anymore, or you may not be able to buy back quick revive, which I don't think would make sense. But I'm assuming you're just not gonna be able to, you know, kill a zombie and then revive yourself, right? Whereas this one here, it seems like you would just have to re-buy back quick revive. And you know, Dying Wish had a cooldown on Black Ops 4 zombies, right? So I don't know if it's going to have a cooldown on this game. If it's simply just buy it back and you can use it again, and buy it back and you use it again, this sounds really, really broken in my opinion. And I feel like potentially they're going to nerf this specific perk down, because this is just really, really broken to me, in my opinion, right? And which is also why here I made it a main one. So if you've gotta try to unlock Dying Witch as the first thing here. Like, this is the most important augments on this whole entire list here. All right, here next we have the Elemental Pop. So first one here we have Vulnera Beam, slightly increased enemy elemental weakness damage. Okay, this is not too bad. Pineapple Blast, equipment can also trigger a random ammo mod. I actually initially did highlight it Pineapple Blast, but after rereading it a couple more times, it specifically says equipment, right? So this game again is most likely going to have a health cap, and you know, grenades, Suntex, frags, or C4s are going to probably one-hit kill normal zombies. So if you're cording them up and you throw a grenade and it kills everything, what is the purpose of activating a random ammo mod if all the zombies are already dead, right? So that's why I don't feel like this is going to be useful at all, in my opinion. Next one here, we have Chill Berry, slightly reduce all ammo mod cooldowns. Now, this is actually going to be useful because it reminds me of Double Tap from Black Ops 3, where it reduces your ammo mod cooldown, allows you to trigger them a little bit quicker. So this is probably going to come in pretty clutchy here. For Major Augment, we have Secret Focus. If a weapon has an ammo mod applied, Elemental Pop will only activate that one. For some reason, I don't really like the idea of this, because Elemental Pop is supposed to activate a random one, right? So I don't know how it's really going to work, because I believe on Cold War, where if you were to activate Brain Rot, Elemental Pop cannot reactivate the same ammo mod in that specific time. I'm not 100% too sure on that, but either way, I don't think this is really that great. But it really just have to see, you know, we have to play the game, and we kind of just have to see on this one here. Imperial Peach, enemies that hit you have a chance to trigger a random ammo mod. And again, this is just not really useful in my opinion, because if a zombie hits you and let's say it triggers a napalm, it's not going to do anything, and it's not going to save your life, right? Like, it just doesn't seem to be any beneficial in my opinion in terms of high rounding and all that. So that's why I just literally skipped that. However, here, this one is probably the most obvious choice out of the 3. Electric Cherry, a perk that was introduced back in Black Ops 2, also very useful for Black Ops 3, such as maps like the Rising Dragon and Origins. Reloading creates an electric damage discharge that damages and stuns nearby normal enemies. The more emptier the magazine, the stronger the damage. Now, I personally think this is going to be really useful, because stunning grenades while reloading can be very clutch. And I just think that this should be a main one to choose for high rounding. So this is also kind of why I have it highlighted as red here. And moving on, we have PhD Flopper. Environmentalists become immune to environmental damage while sliding. And again, this is, you know, back to what I was mentioning about STEM, where I wasn't sure how the environmental damage is going to work on this game. You will have to play the map to figure out how annoying or how big of a distraction the environmental damage is going to be. Because if it's going to be pretty bad, then you would probably have to change to hard target and also environmentalist. But for now, we don't know this just yet, so I don't have this chosen. EOD Technician, slightly reduce height and distance requirements for explosions. To me, I don't exactly understand what this means. It kind of just sounds like it's going to increase the radius of an explosion, right? And again, don't feel like it's gonna be that useful. Yeah, I just don't really like this. And then okay, this is a big word here. Tribologist. Sliding distance and increase or speed are increased. Okay, yeah. So this one specifically is, I think it's gonna be very important because on Cold War everybody likes sliding with PhD, right? And it's gonna give you the advantage to slide between zombies, giving you a faster speed boost. So that's why I personally think this is going to be a good one here. Now, on top of that, I've also comboed it with PhD Slider. Now, this perk was introduced back on Black Ops 4. I think it was also working for Cold War, where you could just slide into a zombie and it would just trigger an explosion. So the fact that, you know, we're fusing triobiologist or okay, I can't read this word. Okay, you guys get the point. So fusing this with PhD, it just sounds pretty broken, in my opinion here, right? And then we have Gravity MD, just falling from heights creates explosions. Yeah, so this to me just isn't really useful because what are the odds of you trying to drop down from a height and there's just going to be a bunch of zombies, you know, just waiting for you downstairs like you're playing Ascension, right? Like that's just not really going to be the case. DR Ram, tactical strength knockdown, and damages base zombies. I don't exactly really understand what this means. I would assume if you're running, you know, nearby zombies are going to just not touch you, I guess, depending how effective this is. Like, it's going to knock down zombies, but then again, it just seems like PhD Slider is just a much better version of DR Ram, right? Because you're at least triggering the explosion and is most likely going to kill them, right? So yeah, that's why I've given it for a PhD Slider in this case. And next, moving on to the last and final perk, Melee. This is a new perk introduced for Black Ops 6 zombies. It's basically allows you to melee, you know, zombies and most likely be able to one-hit kill at any round, you know, due to the health cap. So first one, we have Stick and Move. Back pedal speed is increased after a successful melee attack. Okay, so this basically just means you're going to be getting a speed boost after you kill a zombie by meleeing. Strength training. Your punch can one-hit normal zombies for longer. Okay. Hidden impact. Melee kills reload or reloads a portion of your held weapon. Yeah, so this is not going to be useful in my opinion because, you know, reloading a portion of your weapon just doesn't seem that beneficial. If you have to melee a zombie, you're going to get stuck, right? And you're probably better off popping an Ether Shroud or Frenzy Guard and then reloading your weapon by then, right? So this is kind of obvious here. I've chosen, you know, your one punch can one hit normal zombies for longer because you're really only going to be meleeing zombies as a last resort. If you're out of ammo and you're going to get stuck and you're trying to get away from a certain tight corner, you melee it, and having a longer chance to do that sounds pretty clutchy here, in my opinion. And on top of that, over here, I've chosen Triple Shot, which sounds actually really OP here, which is also why I've highlighted this red. Your punch can hit multiple enemies at once. Now, think about this. If you've gotten stuck in a corner and there's like 3 to 4 zombies and you melee it and it kills 3 zombies and you'd be able to get out, right? That sounds really OP, comboing with strengthened training here where you're allowed to one-hit zombies for a longer period of time. So melee zombie doesn't take that long, and imagine being able to melee quickly 2 to 3 times and being able to get out like a jail-free perk. That sounds just extraordinary to me here. So I think Triple Shot is going to be super crucial here. We have Espresso here. All melee attacks are slightly faster. Yeah, that just doesn't seem useful for me. Vampiric Extraction. Melee attacks heal a small amount of your health. And again, you know, back to what I was saying is most of the time if you're meleeing, you are going to be getting stuck and you're better off activating an Ether Shroud, throwing a Casimir, or using something else, because I just don't think healing a small amount of your health is really going to do much, especially if you're out of armor, right? Alright, so that is going to conclude all the perks augments here, and now we're going to move over to ammo mods here. There's a total of 5 ammo mods. You actually do not unlock these right off the bat. The only one that you get is actually just Deadwire first. You would have to level up and grind through XP to unlock the other ones here. So first of all here, we have Brain Rot here. Extension. Brain Rot duration is slightly increased. And then we have haste, brain rot cooldown is slightly reduced. Okay. So these two kind of seems similar to each other. Explosive charms enemies explode at the end of a brain rot duration, dealing toxic damage. For me personally, it was kind of a tough choice between these three. I was going to choose explosive initially, but the fact that I read this again, you know, it explodes at the end of brain rot duration, dealing toxic damage, but it's not actually changing the zombies to become turn again. So I don't know how much toxic damage this is, how big of a radius the explosion is going to be. So for now, I'll explain kind of why I chosen this one after I go over the major ones here. So for Plague, the charm enemy has a chance to turn other enemies. Okay, that's not too bad. Pheromone, the charm enemy distracts nearby normal and special enemies for a short time. So this kind of acts like, you know, a mini decoy or a mini monkey bomb. You know, it's pretty useful for my opinion here. So it, you know, especially because it attracts or distracts normal and special enemies. Big game, brain rot can charm elite enemies. Okay, yeah, so back on Core, you could, you know, brain rot like disciples or templates. That was very satisfying. I was actually going to choose big game. However, you know, going back to why I wanted to choose extension was because being able to increase duration, which also works with this, being able to distract the zombies for a longer period of time, right? So that's the only reason why I went with extension and not haste, because this is allowing to reduce the cooldown, but I feel like being able to distract them for a longer period of time, giving you the time to be able to reload or get out of, you know, certain spots, it's going to be more beneficial for high rounding. So this is you know, kind of my reason why I chosen these two. Moving on, Cryo Freeze. We have extension, slightly increase the slow duration. Freezer Burn, slightly increase damage to frozen enemies. Liquid Nitrogen, significantly increase your chance for Cryo Freeze to activate. Okay, so I mean, this, you know, is kind of an obvious choice in my opinion. Like being able to significantly, like, wow, we don't even get this word often here. Significantly increase your chance to activate Cryo Freeze. That seems definitely the right choice, because what is the point to slightly increase damage or slow duration if your ammo mod isn't going to activate that frequently, right? So definitely saying Liquid Nitro is the choice here. Major, we have Big Game. Cryo Freeze can slow elite enemies. Okay. Cryo Freeze is not really a great ammo mod, especially going up against elite enemies. Not that I know of back on Cold War. It's a bit of a weaker ammo mod, so I don't really feel like Big Game is really going to help much. Ice Cloud, on the other hand, enemies that are killed while frozen may leave a cloud that slows enemies. Okay. Frozen Stiff, enemies are frozen in place. Okay, so for me, I've chosen Ice Cloud because, read this again, enemies that are killed while frozen may leave a cloud that slows enemy, right? So I mean, the whole point of Cryo Freeze, especially with liquid nitrogen, where you're able to increase your chance to freeze, you know, an enemy or a special enemy, and then you're gonna kill them anyways, right? If you kill a frozen enemy, it's gonna create a cloud that's going to slow enemies. You know, basically meaning all enemies that are going through the cloud. That seems pretty broken, honestly. These two combined just seems really strong. You know, you're having a higher chance to kill enemies or freeze them, and you kill them, and they all slow down, and you keep killing them. It sounds kind of broken here, right? So for me personally, I don't think Big Game or Frozen Stiff even stands a chance against Ice Cloud, because why does it matter if enemies are frozen in place, right? That is not important, right? So yeah, moving on here, we have Dead Wire here, which is the first ammo mod you unlock during your launch of BO6. High Voidage, Dead Wire deals slightly more damage. Okay, interesting. I always thought, you know, Dead Wire should just instantly kill zombies just because I've been playing so much Black Ops 3. But, you know, unfortunately, I guess in this game, it's not going to be a one-hit kill. Haste, Dead Wire cooldown is slightly reduced. Extension, the stun and electric field lasts longer. Okay. I've chosen haste. You know, I'm gonna kind of explain to you guys why after I read out the major. It's kind of like a similar situation compared to like, you know, Cry or, you know, Brain Rot, where I kind of had to fuse it with the major. So Chain Lightning, the stun enemy can spread the stuns to ever. Okay, this is not bad. Chain Lightning, you know, depending on how many it can chain, it's not too bad. Big game, Deadwire can stun elite enemies. Nah, this is, you know, this is not great in my opinion. Not for Deadwire at least. Now, Lightning Strike, a bolt of lightning strikes from above, stunning all normal and special enemies in the area. Now, that to me sounds pretty broken because it's becoming like a radius damage, right? Like a strike from above, and it stuns, you know, not only normal but also special enemies. So this is kind of why I've chosen haste, because it lets you, you know, cooldown is slightly reduced, right? So that also means I could trigger my lightning strike a little bit more often. This, you know, Chain Lightning and Lightning Strike kind of feels like it's the same thing. This stuns more zombies, but this one just sounds more powerful, right? Like you're getting a Lightning Strike from above that's stunning all in the area. That is a very key word, all, right? Whereas this, it's like it's not gonna be like a waffle, right? Where it chains, you know, a tremendous distance of zombies. So this is why, for me, I feel like these two will work as a very great combo. Now, Napalm is probably one of my least favorite ammo mods, you know, ever. Except on Black Ops 3 was pretty decent, but Cold War was dog water in my opinion. Extension, increase the burn duration. Incendiary, each damage tick has a small chance to spread to a nearby enemy. Okay. I don't think Cold War Napalm really did that, so this is kind of more like a Black Ops 3 kind of effect. Contact burn, initial burn effect deals more damage. Okay. And again, this is going to be one of those where it kind of has to fuse with major. So we're going to go over the major first. Big game, Napalm can burn elite enemies. Again, I don't feel like this is really going to be that useful. Thermite, increase burn effect damage. Okay. Firebomb. Burn enemy explodes on death. Spreading fire to nearby enemies. Okay, yeah, like that kind of sounds pretty powerful. Fusing with increase the burn duration, you know, which allows enemies to burn longer period of time, hoping that they will explode on their death, which is why I've chosen these two. If you realize so far, you know, out of all the major we've chosen for ammo mods, we've only chosen the one that is kind of creating a massive like effect, right? Like I just don't understand, or I don't see a reason why anybody would want to choose like big game, right? Like not for high rounding in my opinion, you know. So far I've chosen like, you know, kind of like the effect that stands out, you know, quite majorly. So, but yeah, that's why I would choose these two here. Now moving on, lastly here, Shadow, which is gonna be a new ammo mod. Now I actually highlighted this as red because I think that this is going to be the meta for ammo mods. Like, unfortunately, we don't have Shadow Blast back because it was one of the best ammo mods that we had in Cold War. But in this case, I feel like Shadow kind of substituted. You also unlock this at level 44, which is crazy because you probably have to grind your butt off to get this, right? You only get Deadwire, and you know, to start off, all the other ammo mod doesn't seem that great besides like, you know, Cryo Freeze or Brain Rot, right? But dude, level 44, you would have to grind to get this, man. I think this is gonna be the meta for ammo mods here. So moving on here, hey, Shadow Rift cooldown is reduced. So, okay, so basically what happens, Shadow, is when you shoot Shadow ammo mod, it's going to create like a mini Casimir, right? So that's what it does. So this is haste, reduce the cooldown, targeted, drop enemy will fall on other enemies. Okay, so the Casimir is going to suck up the zombies, drop them from like sky, and they're going to drop down and fall on other enemies here. So I guess targeted means it's guaranteed to hit on other enemies here. Supermassive, the singularity lethal radius is increased and can kill more enemies. Okay, yeah, so I've chosen this one just because it's going to pop a black hole, and having more radius, you know, can kill more enemies. That just seems really great because I would assume that this is going to guarantee to suck them up. It might not guarantee to kill them, but if you're having more enemies fall down, that is probably going to deal more damage, right? So that's why I've chosen Supermassive here. Now, again, you know, big game here is just something that I wouldn't choose for any of the ammo mods here. Topple Danger. Warp one enemy that deals shadow damage to others. To me, it's like, this is just sounds very useless, right? Like, warp one enemy that deals... Yeah, like, no. And then we have Explosive Rain. Enemies that are dropped from portals will explode on contact with the ground. Yeah, like, this, again, just seems... a lot better than these two choices here, right? Especially because it's going to be exploding. Explosive with a large radius that's killing a lot more enemies. You're going to have a lot of explosive coming down with shadows here. So that's why I think that this is probably going to be the meta here for ammo mod. Alright, so that concludes all ammo mods here. So moving on to the final category for Augment is going to be field upgrades here. So let's start off here. We have Ether Shroud here. Okay, so alright, so moving on here to the final category here, field upgrades here. So to start off here, we have Ether Shroud. Now, when I was reading over the list of the field upgrades, we don't have Ring of Fire in this game, right? And back in Cold War, if Ring of Fire was not the choice, I probably would have chosen Ether Shroud to be my main field upgrade to go for high round. So this is why I basically listed it red right away, is that this is going to be the meta here for going for high rounds. On top of that, you need to be level 47 to unlock this. So you're basically about the prestige here, which is pretty nutty here. You know, definitely the developer already knew that people are going to be using Ether Shroud here. Alright, so moving on here, minor instant reload. Activation instant reloads your currently held weapon. It's not bad, to be honest. This is not that bad actually, but it's not the one I would really want to choose because the next one here is just super good. Extra charge, increase max charges by 1. Keep in mind, Ether Shroud is like a jailbreak free, you know, field upgrade, right? And being able to activate more than one charge is super clutch, which is why it's one of the best field upgrade on Cold War. Better than Frenzy Guard in my opinion, because Frenzy Guard you can only get 1 charges, right? So this is also one of the perks I've used for my 935 grinds back on Forsaken, so this is definitely a very important choice here. Extension, Ether Shroud duration is significantly increased. This is not that useful in my opinion, because I would rather have 2 jailbreak frees rather than having 1 jailbreak free that lasts longer, right? Especially because when you're in Ether Shroud mode, you're invisible for zombies, so if you're longer invisible, you're slowing down the rounds. So this is just not useful in my opinion. So Group Shout, nearby players are all cloaked. Again, this is just gonna be more useful for a co-op game. Burst Dash, warped forward at short distance, cutting all normal enemies in your path. And a Void Shout, swap your dedicated melee weapon as it's imbued with dark energy or dark ether energy. Kills allow you to stay in dark ether or Ether Shroud for longer. So, I think a lot of people might think Void Stealth seems to be better. To be honest, Burst Dash isn't really that useful either. But I don't think this is going to be good because if you have to kill enemies with a melee weapon to stay in Ether Shroud longer, your rounds are going to be longer. You know, you don't really want to stay in Ether Shroud for too long, and you have to melee the zombies. Like, it just doesn't seem that reliable. Whereas Burst Dash, you activate it, it kills everything in front of you, because it's not that long of a duration. You know, then it comes back, all enemies are going to go after you again, and you have another charge. It just seems you're able to kill faster with Burst Dash, which is why I think that this would be the proper choice for going for high rounds for Ether Shroud. So yeah, I have it also highlighted red here as well. So next here, field upgrade, it's a new one. It's Dark Flare, and it's very similar to Shadows for the ammo mods. You unlock this level 20, which is actually not that bad. We have Broad Beam, significantly increase the size of the beam. Okay. I believe it shoots out like a beam. That's what it does. That's what Dark Flare does. Heavy Shadow. The beam slows enemies on contact. Okay. Extra charge, increase max charge by 1. I personally just think, you know, whenever you can activate and like a field upgrade more than once, I think it's always the better choice, especially because this doesn't seem that beneficial. Significant increase the size of the beam. It's not bad, you know, but Hard to say, you know. I still think having the extra charge is just better, especially because I fused it with my major Supernova. The beam is replaced, so it's gone. Basically, it's going to become a spear that damages nearby enemies as it travels. The ball detonates at the end of the Dark Flare's duration, right? So if you've chosen Broad Beam, I don't know if it's going to increase the size of the spear, right? But, you know, just hearing this alone sounds pretty overpowered. And then being able to have an extra charge just seems, you know, phenomenal, right? So extension, significant increased Dark Flare duration, you know, doesn't really seem that great. Dark Impact, beam heals and revives other players on contact. Just seems to be more of a co-op choice. But again, I still think Supernova, it just seems to be a lot more superior than the other ones here. But yeah, I honestly don't know if Dark Flare would be like a meta choice for high rounding. I honestly still think like Aether Strut is going to be the play here. Alright, so Frenzy Guard here. This field upgrade actually surprised me on these augments, and I'm going to go over why here. So you unlock this to level 9. So first thing I'm going to do is actually, once I get to level 9, I'm actually going to try this out here, because there is a chance that Frenzy Guard might be the meta in this game. Might. Okay, I'm going to go over why here. Repair boost, repair more armor per kill. Okay. Extension, increase Frenzy Guard duration, right? So it doesn't say how long it's going to be increased, but you know, usually Frenzy Guard is going to be longer than the Aether Strut, right? Rally, on activation, repair all nearby enemies' armor to full. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be more of like a co-op thing again, you know? Moving over to Major, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, like Phalanx. Teammates can also repair armor from kills while near you. Yep, just gonna be more of a co-op thing. Retribution, trigger an explosive on activation. Normal enemies that melee players are damaged and knocked down. Okay, let me read this again here. So if you trigger an explosion on activation, right? Normal enemies that melee the normal enemies that melee the player are damaged and knocked down. To be fair, this honestly isn't too bad, but keep in mind, when you activate Frenzy Guard, you're not invisible to the zombies, right? If you're triggering an explosion to knock down the enemies, they're going to go after you right away, right? And then how big is the radius of this explosion, right? Probably not that big, right? So to me, it's like, doesn't seem super useful for high rounding. And the reason why is because of the next one here. Frenzy Fire. What does that sound familiar to you guys? Ring of Fire? Right, boys? Like, Ring of Fire is low-key hidden in Frenzy Guard's major augments here. Read this. While frenzied, use ammo from stock. Okay, keep in mind, guys, this game is going to have a health cap, right? Without Ring of Fire, that's fine. Part of the main reason why Ring of Fire is so OP is that people could shoot from their stocks right away, right? And on top of that, obviously, you're getting a lot more damage. But keep in mind, right here, extension, your increased Frenzy Guard duration, right? So this is probably going to last at least 10 seconds or 15 seconds, right? So with the health cap, I mean, it seems like the ray gun is going to be pretty powerful, or also the, you know, the wonder weapon. If you're able to camp in a corner and you're activating Frenzy Guard and you're able to keep shooting a ray gun out without having to reload, I think there's a good chance that this can work pretty well in terms of trying to play a little bit faster, you know? You know, you can also try to train a little bit, kill a couple horde, get back to Frenzy Guard, then go back to your camping spot, and then camp a little bit, right? So this is kind of why I had this label as blue, because I feel like this field upgrade has a potential to be a meta, you know? But again, we're not too sure. It depends on how fast the spawn is going to be. But I definitely think Frenzy Guard has a potential here, guys. This is like low-key, really, really OP here, guys. Alright, so moving on here, Healing Aurora. You unlock this to level 33. Now, for me personally, I was never really a fan of Healing Aurora up until Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And mainly just because it's a Warzone style zombie map, you know, players are so far away. This is not really going to be a solo perk or a solo field upgrade choice for high rounding here. But we're still going to go over it here. Inner Strand, affected players' damage is significantly increased for a short time. slightly increase. Yeah, so like, it's the key words here, right? Like, it's just not really gonna be that useful, honestly. And it's also slightly and for a short time, right? So yeah, so protection, heal players have damage slightly mitigated for a short time. Okay, so that basically means they're gonna be taking less damage for a short time, which makes sense for healing aura. Stoic present on activation, special and enemy or elite enemies are stunned while normal enemies are knocked down. Yeah, this is not too bad. It's kind of a hard choice between these two, honestly. Like, it could just be based on your personal preference. Like, sounds to me possibly Stoic Presence is probably the better choice here. But I kind of just chose Protection because taking less damage for a short time kind of makes sense if I'm using Healing Aura. So, but again, this is just like kind of a personal preference. You know, I might just try these out, you know. Major here, we have Resilience. All affected players have their health regeneration delayed, reduced, and their rate of healing increased temporary. Great, awesome one here for a co-op game. Enduring Radiance, the beam, and their healing effects persist for a short time after leaving the area of effect. Okay. Yeah, this just doesn't really seem that useful here. Persistence, revive players keep all perks on their bleed out bar. Yeah, so for me, I've chosen this one because my list here is based off primarily for a solo high rounding game, and persistent is not gonna do anything for me. Same as in enduring just doesn't seem that useful. So resilience is the way to go. But obviously, if you're playing a co-op game, most likely persistent is probably the way to go here, right? Because you can keep all your perks anyways. So, but yeah, moving on to the final field upgrade, energy mine, and probably one of the worst, honestly. And you unlock this right off the bat. So we have frequency boost, increased detonation count, and duration of energy mine. So you increase the detonation count and duration of energy mine. Interesting. Okay, so basically, it's just telling you that it lasts longer. Extra charge, increase max charges by 1. I don't remember. I think actually, yeah. I was gonna say I felt like Cold War had 3 charges, but then that was Frost Blast, right? So yeah, makes sense. I thought they might have nerfed this down. Siren and energy mine now attracts nearby normal enemies for a short time, so it kind of acts like a monkey bomb. Yeah, for me, again, whenever there's an extra charge option, I normally would always choose that because I always think having 1 extra charge is always going to be better than whatever the other effects are going to do, right? Now, right here on the major augments, they actually buffed it up, energy mine, pretty well. So scatter, the energy mine will split into 3 mines that scatter and detonate 1 time each. Not bad, very good for crowd control. This sounds pretty good, especially if you can get 2 charges here. You're gonna get 6 mines. Turret, instead of a mine, deploy a turret that shoots at nearest enemy. Yeah, like this again just really doesn't seem that attractive to me. Like unless if like the turret is like superly broken, like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies one, right? That just basically aimbots everything, just kills everything. If it's just going to act like a normal sentry gun from Cold War, I don't see this being that useful at all, right? Like, yeah. So anyways, moving on to the final one here, Carousel. Now, this one is actually really good. Like, low-key really good. Like, 3 energy mines will float around you, detonating when an enemy is nearby. Now, that is actually really good because it kind of sounds to me, it kind of seems like the garbage can from, like, Dead Ops, where, or even the Wonder Waffle, how it has like that floating ball around you. If an enemy comes close to you, then it detonates. Like that sounds pretty good. It's definitely would help if you're trying to train a little bit, and then maybe you can just like try to bait one of the energy mines to kill a crowd. You can also get 6 energy mines floating in total because you have 2 charges. So this to me is definitely the choice to go for energy mine here. And that concludes on what I predict is going to be the best augment setup for high rounding Black Ops 6 zombies. I hope you guys enjoyed this brainstorming video and found this video helpful. If you did, please drop a like. I'd be interested to know you guys' opinion in the comment section below of whether you fully agree or semi-agree or disagree with my opinion. Further ado, I'll also be streaming a 24-hour stream on launch of Black Ops 6. If you guys are keen to see some epic high round content, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on the bell. Peace.